online, we will get our meeting started here. I'm the only CORC member in the room so far, so everybody else is online. We will continue. I guess in terms of attendance, we will start in the room and then online. Start in the corner over here. You guys, Judd?
Judd Adams, Facilities Construction.
Michael Tubiolo, Facilities Construction.
Holly Hahn, Office of General Counsel.
David Dolan, Facilities Management.
David Porter, CORC.
Jacob Katz, Pirtle Construction.
James Farrell, Facilities Construction.
Sean Maurer, Core Construction.
Jason Mitchell, Core Construction.
John Levinson, Rel Enterprises, representing Wharton Smith and Ziskovich.
Tom Jacob Ison, Ward Smith.
Remini Ray, Randolph Construction.
Mike Guida, go ahead and announce yourself.
Mike Guida, CORC.
All right. Sam, go ahead and announce yourselves online.
Sam Shannon, CORC.
Tom? All right.
Ken, that's good.
Virginia Ferris, CORC.
Okay, Virginia's there.
Okay.
Tom Berger, CORC.
All right.
Michael Gelfand, CORC.
Okay. I think that's all our online members, correct? Got them all, Judd?
I have Ken Lassiter and Lewis Doctor as well.
Yeah, Lou, go ahead. Ken announced himself. Lou, you there?
He might be muted.
Lou Doctor, are you muted?
If you can turn your camera on so we can see your face.
All right, he was on, so we'll come back to him.
It looks like Lou's mic is muted.
Okay. Yeah, Judd, can you verify that he's still in the room?
Sure.
Through that.
Looks like he dropped off. Oh, there he is.
It's right there.
Okay.
He is here.
Okay. I don't have anything to report as we go down the agenda. Anyone with a conflict of interest for anything being reviewed today? No one in the room, anyone online? Okay, no conflicts. CORC report. Lou, are you on? Can you unmute yourself? Okay, we're not hearing you if you are.
He's gesturing that he cannot unmute. He cannot.
Oh, okay. All right, we're trying on our end too, but that's not working either, so we'll get back to you on that.
Lou had his thumb up, so I guess he can do the report.
Okay.
Excellent.
Thank you, Lou. We'll start working on sign language. Staff updates.
Okay, well, we're starting to get back into the swing of things. We're now into September. We are very excited to have had our new high school's first football game this past Friday evening. It was a great event at a great facility. Very excited for the school. There's still little things to be done at the school, but in general, it's in great shape and it's off to a wonderful start. Last night, I'd like to be able to report that our capital plan for this fiscal year has, I'm sorry, Mr. Barbieri also was acknowledging his presence.
Okay, thank you.
Last evening, the board approved final acceptance of the capital plan, well, of the overall budget, including the capital plan. So we've got a lot of great things going on this coming year. And excited to tell you all more about it as the months go on, because we definitely have lots of great things and some new things on there too. So I will leave it to that. Michael, do you have anything?
No. When they approved the budget last night, I heard that there was a lot more money that got put into Roosevelt to go all the way through all the phases.
Yes. Okay, then I will get into a little bit of the details. One change since our tentative adoption last month was we added to the capital plan additional funds for what we refer to as phase 2 of the historic Roosevelt project and phase 2 of the historic Carver High School project. You all may remember Delray Full Services, Carver High School. We've we're in the middle of doing phase one, which is adult ed programming, the new building and renovating the gymnasium. That facility will be open at the end of this year. I'll show some pictures in a little while. But we've always talked about what we were going to do with some of the historic buildings that we had no plans for. We referred to them as Building 1 and Building 12. And the board approved last evening to additionally fund renovating those two spaces for academic purposes, primarily, let's say, adult ed purposes, but for academic purposes. So it's got as you guys can imagine, historic buildings, we're gonna have a lot of work to renovate them and turn them into code compliant buildings for today's code. They were built in the 50s. Ostensibly the same thing is for Roosevelt High School, that we are working on Roosevelt Phase 1, which is also renovating the gymnasium, building a new building, and we've got I guess what we'll call it a lab space. That project is about to get underway. I think Pirtle Construction has that. We just got them the early buy package. That's great for phase one. Phase two is the historic buildings that front on Tamarin and have a great deal of importance to the community as well. The board approved additional funds last night to allow us to go forward on renovating those buildings. And at this point, we're still working with the community on their intents and desires for that. Predominantly, we've been referring to kind of a library, media center, and a museum, a historic preservation museum. There's a lot of artifacts at that facility. So we're really excited about those two projects. And in addition, there is a new elementary school that was slated for starting next fiscal year. We've moved that project forward 1 year to this current year. And literally with that approval last night, we're working with Ziskovich Architects it's a reuse of the Blue Lake Elementary building, the whole design. So we're excited. We're moving on that very quickly.
Where's that going?
It's at Arden, which is out in Wellington, or I guess in the Wellington area, the Loxahatchee area. Yep. And it will relieve a number of our schools, elementary schools out there that are sorely needing. So we're moving that up and getting it done faster. We're excited about that one as well.
So that's already budgeted? It
was already budgeted, and then we just literally moved the money forward by 1 year, both years. We usually design 1 year and fund construction the second. We moved it all forward to be able to get it right now.
And for Delray and for Roosevelt, I guess adult ed is involved with both of those projects to kind of come up with the academics?
For phase one, yes, they've been involved.
I meant even for like phase two at Delray.
Phase two, they will certainly be involved in that, in the Delray, in the Carver site. Right. Building 12, we've often thought of it as an academic program for like a culinary, because Building 12 is the cafeteria, kitchen and cafeteria. So it might not be a bad alternative to, modify it into that. So
since Lou figured out how to unmute himself, do you want to go back to his item for the?
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, Lou already.
We got you, Lou. Thank you.
We got you, Lou. We can hear you now, so that's good. Okay, I guess my only concern, I know the board can approve what they like, try to make sure that there's some kind of academic value, which is what we build for.
Absolutely.
Associated with stuff we're spending millions of dollars on.
Correct.
That's all.
There is absolutely a need for additional adult ed programming in the area.
Yep.
In past, we've been talking about sites like Old Plumosa and other things like that as to where these programs might go, whether we were including them in some high schools and things like that. So we certainly do have a plethora of programs that are lined up. It's a question, as we have experienced with Roosevelt as well, the academic program completely done by the academic group. They play a role in what we're offering, what's in the best interest, especially when it comes to adult ed. There's certain certifications, there's reimbursements and things like that. There's a lot of items that go into deciding what goes into those spaces, what they can be used as. Like with Roosevelt, I think we've already told you guys in the past, the buildings that we're building at Roosevelt are designed for multi-purpose spaces. there might be a cosmetology space, but most of the other rooms are labs and classrooms that can accommodate various different types of academic programs. And those have all been laid out as to allowing the academic world to make the decision that, okay, now we want to do aerospace and light gauge frame design, and then that space next year might be something else. They can make those adjustments as necessary, because we've made these classroom spaces flexible for them.
I would just like to recommend, and not every month, but just keep CORC updated as to the academic decisions that go along with the construction decisions.
Absolutely. Yeah, when we get, right now, both of those, we're looking at shells, getting the shells identified and worked through. And as you said, there's others that are working in the background with us to identify what the potential uses will be. And certainly we will do so.
Okay.
Get back with you.
All right. Anything else for staff updates? That's it?
I think that's it.
All right. Any questions from anyone for staff updates? All right. Seeing none. Public comments. Any general public comments? Not seeing any. All right. Let's get on consent agenda, everyone. FC1, Michael Gelfand already said he wanted it pulled. Anyone else?
I'll pull it.
Okay, FC2, Michael Gelfand pulled it. Anyone else? Okay, PC1. No one pulled that one. Okay, PC2, Michael Gelfand requested pulling it. Anyone else? Okay, we need a motion to accept.
Move to forward the one consent agenda item. I think there was just one.
It was PC1.
Second.
Second by Sam. All right, Judd, now you'll have to poll everybody.
Okay, David Porter,
Yes.
Ken Lassiter,
Ken, you might be muted.
Approve.
Okay, thank you.
Louis Doctor.
He's muted.
I know.
Thanks, Lou, we got you.
Okay.
That's all you give it.
Michael Gelfand.
Yes.
Michael Guida.
Yes.
Sam Shannon.
Yes.
Tom Berger.
Yes.
And Virginia.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, FC1, Michael and Michael. Mike Guida, go ahead.
I guess if you go to the Malaluka School, the item number 2.
Okay.
And this is probably something that Michael Gelfand might touch on too. It looks like the police had some input on the facility after it was completed. I'm just going to speak to the fact that it just seems high on the cost of the 24 doors to be retrofitted with card readers. So if you could explain that, has that been justified?
Yeah, it has been reviewed, deemed fair and reasonable by our independent reviewer. When you look at it, it's the card readers and the door hardware. So they're
The doors are modified with panic bars, things like that.
not necessarily panic bars. There's a different hardware set based on the function. It's not just a one size fits all, but there is each door is analyzed based on what's the need for that function of the door. So you'll have a different hardware set on every single door, basically. Some are repetitive, but there's, it's analyzed by the door hardware manufacturer along with the architect, and they coordinate that effort.
So the door hardware changes because it gets a card reader?
It does. Yeah, because it becomes electrified and they need to run a conduit down the wall to get power to the hinge.
Right, to the strike side.
Side, yep. So
So the hinges don't change.
the hinges don't change, but it gets a new hardware set.
It's a new latch set because now it's electrified release.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, and that works out about $1,300 a door. 24 doors, 38,000.
Right.
Yeah.
That's probably about right, with the labor required to now bring a conduit to each of the 24 doors and then change out the hardware. Okay.
And I think I mentioned it in the past that if we could get the police involved during the design.
They are involved.
So that would be,
So we have them early in the design process and then a couple times through, but then they periodically walk the facility as it's under construction. And sometimes they notice a few things after walking the site. They're used to, physical world. So sometimes when you're getting used to working in a plan, it's hard to visualize what that is when you get out there. So when they get out there, they walk it and say, oh, we kind of need to make some modifications to it.
I've recently spoken to some of my counterparts, a couple of my counterparts at other districts, and they basically said the same thing. There's almost no schools that when they get built or even as they're retrofitted, that they don't come up with some add-ons after the fact. Recently, we just got feedback that, what about the teachers who, when they're out on the playground and they want to come back in, and do we need to put card readers on those doors so they don't have to walk around with a key? Because again, we all know that handing out keys and the challenges with that, getting those keys back and making sure that they're always accounted for. Card readers are obviously a lot easier to manage and maintain access control as time goes on. So those are oftentimes the kinds of circumstances that lead to these additional requests. So.
well, I was glad to see there was no additional cameras asked. So
I do get frustrated over these only because, somebody in the department should be almost as good as a building inspector to be able to read plans and understand it, but I know that's not happening. And I know that's not maybe even capable. So I just accept these extras that we get after the fact because it's still making the school as secure as it needs to be. And if it's not going to happen prior to construction, then I'm glad it's happening. So.
And we would get negative feedback from the schools after the fact. If it turns out that, why did we even put a card reader on there? Trust me, the schools will let us know that that's a waste because they, of course, say, I'd rather have that been over here. So they'll give us their feedback as well. So I do appreciate your perspective and acknowledge that that's likely to be, those would be ones that the school ends up asking us for at some point after the fact as well.
Yeah, I think this one's maybe quite excessive compared to others that we've received where it's like 6 card readers got added to a high school. Okay, in a high school, that's hitting it pretty good before we started construction. 38 after the fact on an elementary school, I mean, not 38, 24 readers, 24 doors. Yeah, you would have thought that they would have picked up more than needing 24 after the fact, but it is what it is. Michael Gelfand. Your comments.
Thank you. So who is actually responsible for the review at the beginning before the on-site walkthroughs?
School police, they have a couple different people assigned that are trained in that area of security. And they review it not just for card readers and cameras, but for total security. And they, mark up the plans based on that information of their training, and they provide that information to us.
And who's the person that supervises these people?
In the end, it goes up to Chief Mooney, who's the chief of schools. She's the ultimate supervisor of them.
Not at the very end, but who, you said there's a number of people that review. Who's the supervisor of that person, of those people?
So the,
can I ask, is there a concern about a particular person and their abilities? Because I don't really want to get into the details of identifying staff. Is that the ultimate focus here of who's the staff member who missed it? I'm trying to gauge. I don't want to declare, oh, it's that guy who's not doing his job or something like that.
Well, we're seeing these things repeatedly come along.
And you will continue to.
And excuse me. So my next question is, these doors, are they some type of unique type of entryway or to a unique type of area? Or are these for classrooms and standard types of entries that we have from school to school?
I don't know. Do you know?
The details aren't very clear, but I will say with certainty they're not standard classrooms. It's not like we're putting card readers on classroom doors specifically to lock that classroom. Virtually every card reader that's added is usually an access door to some other space, more of a common space, whether they're perimeter doors or they're hallway doors to another type of space, a larger space, let's say a cafeteria or something like that. But no, we generally don't use card readers on standard classrooms.
All right. So my difficulty with this is, and you've heard this before, but this one now brings it to a head, is that we have doors that, if they are perimeter doors you would anticipate should have these items and identified from the very beginning. If we're dealing with, I'll refer to them as core spaces or event spaces, whether they're an auditorium, a cafeteria, as you mentioned, or other similar types items, I cannot conceive how 24 of these were not identified at the very beginning, or at least before the bid process stage. And there's something functionally wrong going on here. And from my perspective, if you have a number of people that are supposed to be identifying this up front, then the question is who is supervising them and providing the criteria and evaluating and providing feedback. Something is wrong systemically, and that needs to be corrected.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Anything else by anyone? All right.
I also have an item on item 4 on this, the additional chain link fencing. And with due regard to Mr. Chair and the comment here, the concept of the chain link fences providing security, you've heard my comments in the past. It does not do that at all, and folks get in around them. And I think that we are just imagining what security needs for these schools. Thank you.
Okay. No other comments? Need a motion by someone for this item?
Move to go forward.
Okay, need a second?
Second.
Second by Sam. Any other comments, discussion? All right, Judd Polis, please.
David Porter.
Yes.
Ken Lassiter. Louis Doctor.
Yes.
Michael Gelfin.
No.
Michael Guida.
Yes.
Sam Shannon.
Yes.
Tom Berger.
Yes.
Virginia Ferris.
Yes.
Okay.
We need to have a justification
Yeah.
recorded for Mr. Gelfand.
Michael, give us a brief justification for our report, please.
Brief, certainly. The Melaleuca School item, combined with other late requests by school police, indicate a systemic problem in plan review.
Okay.
And second, the chain link fences are not sufficient for security.
Okay, thank you. All right, FC2, Michael Gelfand, you pulled it.
Same item. I'm not going to apologize to everyone else. I think it's important, but the question is, do these renovations include walls around the school and sally ports?
FC2?
Okay, that's not what this one was about. You're welcome to make that comment, but this was about plumbing pipes.
I know, but we're dealing with the renovation, so I'm
Okay,
pulling it up.
that's fine. Michael wanted to comment about needing walls around the school, even though it's unrelated to this, and he's allowed to do that.
Sure.
So, therefore, there really was no pull on this particular item, so we will now need a motion to go forward with this item.
Move to go forward.
Okay,
Second.
second by Sam again. Any other discussion or comments? All right, Judd Polis, please.
David Porter.
Yes.
Ken Lassiter.
Yes.
Louis Doctor.
What item are you voting on, please?
We're going on FC2.
That's Santa Lucia's, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're okay with that? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Michael Gelfen,
Yes.
Michael Guida,
Yes.
Tim Shannon,
Yes.
Tom Berger,
Yes.
Virginia Ferris.
Yes.
Okay, we're down to PC2. Michael Gelfand pulled that one.
I'm looking at the beneficial interest and disclosure of ownership affidavit, and I may not have caught these before, but there's appears to be some new information on there. First, I don't need anything right now, but I would suggest as we move forward with the affidavit, I think paragraph 2 needs to be reviewed for compliance with the statutory definition of a person. Holly, I sent you something on it, but it was like at 2 o'clock in the morning, so you probably haven't had a chance to read it. The second part, though, is with paragraph 3, where we're dealing with an affidavit that a person is not located in the Venezuelan regime of Nicolas Maduro. Is that something for real? Because I wasn't aware that a regime has physical boundaries. And is there any guidance from the state as to how you're supposed to address these things?
Well, I believe that we based all of these current or the paragraphs you're talking about, which were newly added as a result of the new legislation that was added at 287.138. So I'm assuming that this regime is in the statute. However, I will certainly go back and I will, respond to your email. But we internally reviewed this with purchasing and added that because of the new statutory requirement. But as far as language from the state, they haven't provided us anything.
All righty, and if we could just get an update at the next meeting on that, because we've all dealt with legislation, and it's a rather messy process, but this particular one, I don't know, makes sense, and especially if we're supposed to be regulating on that basis, we ought to know it, and if the state requires it, then tell the state to explain it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for your comments.
Yeah, that's just an odd paragraph to see in there. Yeah. But anyway, as you said, Michael, the legislature.
Well, I mean, in essence now, the politics of a presidential campaign are now getting down into the nitty-gritty of school district contracting. And if they're going to be serious about it, then tell them to fess up and do it right or get out of our town. Thank you.
And actually, Mr. Gelfand, because I was able to do just a really quick word search. And so in 287.138, subsection 1, subsection C, the term foreign country of concern. And in there, the third line says the Venezuelan regime of Nicolas Maduro or the Syrian Arab Republic, blah, blah, blah. So, and it's what I thought. We are using the statutory language.
Yeah. One of the things I always try to avoid is saying that we're doing it because we had to take it from somewhere else, but we don't know what it means. That's where we're at on it. Thank you.
I will respond to your email, but thank you.
So I guess I shouldn't start my own regime, because then I'd be listed.
You might be listed, yeah.
I might be blackballed from doing work for the school district.
The key is not
Any
letting
other
other
comments
people
on-
know that you are the czar of the other regime and you just do it silently.
All right, if nothing else on PC2, need a motion?
Move to go forward.
Okay, second. We'll get Mike Guido on the second for this one. Any other discussion? All right, Judd Polis, please.
David Porter,
Yes.
Ken Lassiter. Can you repeat? I didn't hear you.
I agree.
Okay. Lou Doctor,
Yes.
Michael Gelfen,
Yes.
Michael Guida,
Yes.
Sam Shannon,
Yes.
Tom Berger,
Yes.
Virginia Ferris.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We are done consent, and we're now down to in-progress FCA work.
Okay. If Judge, if you can pull that up. I'm going to pretend that I'm going to go through this quickly, because I always say this every meeting, that I'm going to do it quickly, and it never goes quickly. Certainly, I welcome any comments afterwards. Judd, if you wouldn't mind scrolling, and hopefully I can barely keep up with you. Same numbers, or updated numbers for our performance. The slide identifying the projects that are upcoming. The next GMPs, as you'll note, we don't have any GMPs in September. We do have a couple in October, in November, in December, and they're still to be determined, but we're really trying to stick to schedules. As you guys can imagine, we're putting GMPs together now because a lot of times we have to do early work, early procurement, in order to be able to have the material delivered a year from now, a year and a half from now, kind of thing. So we're doing a lot of those things so we can get the work done this summer. As you'll notice, a lot of development activities are still ongoing. I'm not going to touch on them individually. Yeah, keeping on. Our facility renewals. Again, Judd's going to go through these quickly, but there's a lot of great things going on at these schools. Lake Worth High has got quite a bit of good work going on at the school now, and every day those improvements are making an impact on the schools that are challenged, challenged with air conditioning and such. So you'll see a lot of the photos that we post. These are not unlike most of the other months, the things we're doing. Lockers, yay. You'll notice now that the next two sets of slides are much smaller. Joaquin Garcia, Dr. Garcia High is now open, and punch list is in progress, and Angel is super psyched to get to that point. As I said, the football field's done. You can see the baseball field and the softball field are now done, and they are working diligently on getting that opened, moving forward. One of the things that we always talk about is when we open a school, oftentimes the principal has an amount of money that they come up with those things that we need to touch on, we need to fix. And it could be as simple as like, well, they need garbage cans at the corners of every high traffic area that we didn't think about or whatnot. And I remember Frank Lloyd Wright used to not put sidewalks into his buildings, right? Because he put them in college campuses. He wouldn't put sidewalks in, and he'd let the students walk to classes and figure out from the dorms where they were going. Well, a lot of times we like to give the principals a little bit of money to say, you might find some other alternatives, things to be done. But by and large, the school is in great shape. West Point Middle School, couldn't get any simpler than that. You can see that's our, down to the bottom is the elementary school adjacent to it.
Well, let's go back for a second.
Sure.
You don't have to go back with pictures. In a lessons learned or a follow-up, the West Boynton School and the high school seem to have run so well in terms of project management, your staff, principals, working with James Campbell and the liaison. We need to kind of bottle that into a process that we continue with, because it worked. And we don't have a school that we have a punch list 80 miles long of stuff that was forgotten,
right, that
didn't get coordinated, that we didn't have enough time to do or money to do. So we need to kind of reflect on that and say, okay, these should be our new processes and procedures, because it worked.
Yeah. And we have certain mistakes, or not mistakes, certain learned lessons. Yeah. And I'll be the first to throw Palm Beach County under the bus. Not really under the bus, but we could have done a better job coordinating with them on both of those projects. Kudos to both contractors for having done a great job inside the boundaries of our property, but coordinating with those agencies, those outside agencies, on things like traffic signals and turn lanes and striping and things like that, we thought we had a pretty good plan, and I felt like we did a pretty nice job. Most people wouldn't notice much of a difference, but those would be things that we look back at and say, all right, we started a year early. Next time we need to start a year and a half early, you know, on traffic signals and things like that. And so, yeah, there are certainly going to be plenty of learned lessons, and we are still just, you know, somewhat digging out. As a matter of fact, I know Angel just got back from a vacation because he definitely needed one. This is an opportunity now to work through punch lists and get all those other things sorted out. And I would say in the next couple of months, we will start reconvening our own internal groups to, you know, best management practices, learn lessons.
Yeah, what worked, what didn't work.
Yeah, but I do appreciate you saying that I never want to say that they did a great job because then I'll get a big head, but they did. Both schools were well done, and both SPAs managed them quite well.
Yeah.
Internally, we meet once a month as a group, all the project managers, and we talk about the good and the bad and ugly and go through it so everybody can learn from everybody else. So
every once in a while, we try to give them kudos too.
Well, somewhere our manual needs to be created of, okay, here's the mistake we made, so we know we don't make it next time, and here's what worked, so let's continue that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sorry.
Okay, moving on. The next two projects, the pictures don't necessarily reflect what's going on, but both Grove Park and Malibu are moving forward. I would anticipate, and it's not anything public yet, but while we talked about the potential of an October opening, in early September, it does not look like that's likely. So we are looking more like at this point, we're thinking more around our Thanksgiving time for that opening, because we always had a plan that we would be able to open those schools at Thanksgiving and then transition over Christmas break to have the new schools take over the holding schools, because both holding schools are going to be for Winbrook and West Revere elementaries.
Does Thornton's construction schedule reflect what you're trying to tell us?
Yes, it does. Okay. And I'm going to rely on the expertise of the SPAs that are working on them. Yeah, as we've said, Judd and James are doing great jobs on those projects, keeping them moving. These are the projects that we suffered the challenges of all sorts of material shortages and delays. So between Pirtle and Thornton, I know they're doing a nice job of trying to catch back up and get these projects on target for completion.
I'm not pushing for fast. I just look at what I just drove by today and think to myself, even Thanksgiving seems remotely possible for what I'm
as you can see from the pictures, both projects are suffering from site challenges getting the site work done. The buildings are actually in really good shape and coming along nicely. It's the site that's lagging, and you can see.
Okay. So Judd, as he's running the camera, is now making sure that we just zip past those. So Pine Grove, another one of Angel's projects that's just underway. And you can see we've gotten our excavation and a lot of our foundations. Well, there you can see them. Our foundations are in. Angel just whispered in my ear a little while ago that all the underground MEP work is done on Pine Grove, and obviously moving forward. Now, this school is not anticipated to open until next August. So we've got, not to say that we have time, but we certainly have available time to get it done. All right, Delray Full Service, that's our phase one, as I said, the historic harbor, phase one.
How has the schedule, I mean, are we way behind whatever our first schedule was on that project? Okay.
We are.
Because I was on the selection committee for the architect for that, and it seems like at least 2 years ago.
Yeah, and I know there are always excuses and justifications.
Okay.
FP&L killed us on this one. I just, you'll notice that the starting notes say, something like, it's almost like you can read we finally energized the site. It's been ages and ages, and I know we work with the SPA on this project, and just trying to push FP&L to get that energized was a challenge.
I've got two projects right now, and it's the same way. We're like 6 months behind because of FPL. Mañana.
Right. And we're working with them. We actually have our liaison, and we're always trying to stay on top of them. But there's challenges, and now's a perfect example. You want to see a crew come out to your site? Probably not anytime soon. They're busy up in the Panhandle right now.
Yep.
So, we recognize those challenges. They always come this time of year. So if you're anticipating that you're going to get a lot of work done in August, September, October, not always the case. So, but you can see it's definitely coming along. The buildings are up. The gymnasium's well renovated. I think we have internal pictures of some of the work. There's the gymnasium space. So now that it's energized, it sure makes things a lot better. Go on. Okay, timber trace. We're gonna, because Judd is driving the bus on this one, we're just gonna skip right past this slide, set of slides. This is the core expansion that they're working on both the cafeteria and the main office in the clinic area. So we suffered material delays this past summer on some of the work that we were trying to get done. But Hatcher's really doing a yeoman's job in trying to close the gap, trying to get it closed up and operational right now this fall. So, and as it is, our efforts to communicate with principals, that'll be our poster child, because we have weekly meetings. Not only do they have OAC meetings, but we have weekly meetings with the principal and the regional to kind of go, our instructional superintendent to go over what's gone on, what they can expect and whatnot. So there's no missing out on those things. So we're gonna start using some of those as the learned lessons of better lines of communication with our principals. Seminole Trails, another core expansion moving along. Dorothy, I guess we probably got like 2 pages worth of minor projects. That's only a drop in the bucket. We probably have 700 or 800 different projects between maintenance and some of them are super, super small, but every one of them count. Every one of them counts to the schools. So
every one of them takes effort.
Yeah. So again, not very fast, was that?
Yeah, that was faster than usual.
Faster than usual, right?
It slowed down because I asked questions. Okay, any questions for Mr. Dolan? Okay. I don't think we have anything for follow-up, do we, today?
Well, I just want to report, I know that you guys had asked me last month about the policies, and I've since met with our policy group, and I have those 3 policies lined up. Knock on wood, I'd like to say I'll have them by the end of the year. There are 3 board meetings, basically, a workshop, and then a board meeting to accept those. I'm working on right now getting the cabinet so that I can get my first workshop probably in October, November. So I'm going to say October, November, December, hoping for the end of the year, maybe right after the new year, we should have all of those officially executed. But I'll keep you in the loop and let everybody know when we can expect them done.
Was there anything else from previous meetings that we had Dorothy continue to bring forward that we still needed to be addressed? For instance, I don't think we still ever got on the artificial turf, that AECOM.
I sent that along. It wasn't very detailed, but it was an analysis to Dorothy. I don't know if that got pushed.
Got to us. That's why I'm asking that we've never seen anything. What I really want to do is make sure that when we bring up things at CORC or there's a question and we need to follow up, that somehow we don't go to a couple of meetings and it gets lost and all of a sudden we lose
And it's number 5 on this list, Judd. If you'll slide down to number 5, it does identify that we will bring it to a future CORC meeting.
Okay, good.
So we do have it on our radar.
That's fine. Okay.
And the boss lady is definitely on top of that. And
she's raised her hand.
Oh, yes, there we go.
Dorothy,
yeah,
yes.
the information that Michael got for me is the same that was in the agenda item that you guys had already seen. I know that Angel was still working on pulling some stuff up, but because of start of school and then his vacation, I don't know who gets vacations in the middle of the year, but he hasn't gotten all of that to us yet, so that's why I haven't.
We promise, as noted here, we promise we will get back to you.
No, that's fine. I forgot about this list you're keeping, Dorothy, that allows us to not forget something that we would have asked for before.
Right.
Okay, Sam, you had your hand up.
You just mentioned artificial turf, and when you saw a picture of it earlier, I sort of like the blue field, but I was sort of shocked by it. Is that sort of a standard thing nowadays, or what?
No, as a matter of fact, that is, again, this is a new school, so there's a lot of parties that were involved in the decision-making on that. Certainly the principal and academic leadership as well, all played a role in making that decision. Now, I don't believe the actual colored turf cost us much more than regular turf did. As a matter of fact, anyway, the interesting thing for me, not that it should play a role, but blue fields are actually, the blue artificial turf are patented by Boise State, and they will not grant universities and colleges that right to use the blue field, but high schools, no problem. So we got approval to use the blue field. And that decision did go through a series of through leadership processes to make sure the blue was acceptable. So yes, to your point, Ms. Shannon, it's not like the next school is going to be purple or the next one's going to be red. There's got to be a process. There's got to be justification for it.
Just as long as the next one is not Madras.
Which,
Sam, also the team's uniforms are the same color, so I thought if they just lay down on the field, they'll be disappeared and nobody will be able to catch them.
No, I saw it in the post and I thought, whoa, this is interesting. And I say, I sort of liked it, but I was just surprised by it.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so that was follow-up?
That was follow-up. All right. And get our date of our next meeting, October 12th. Anyone with issues on the minutes? Virginia?
There was something I saw, but I can't remember. So I'll let them go.
Okay.
I was gonna say, if she wants to get back to us after the fact, send Dorothy a note.
You can just send Dorothy a note and she can make a correction if you remember what it might be.
I really appreciate the way you're putting in the attendance now. Much clearer.
Good. Okay. All right. I don't think we've asked for anything for the next agenda that's specific. So if somebody thinks of something that they want to be brought up or discussed, they can always email staff and or email Dorothy.
Yeah.
And she will add something in and we can talk about it later. Anything by anyone else for this meeting? All right, hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great month.
Thank you, everyone.
It is on mute.